people that couldn't attend due to time differences, that we can send the video. And if anybody wants a copy of this afterwards, then please do let us know. Good morning to those in Europe and good afternoon to those in China and Greater APAC region. I've got a few people here from China, Hong Kong and Taiwan this morning. So good afternoon to you. We hope that you find this insightful. For the purposes of recording this for audiences that couldn't attend, can I ask that the questions are at the end? I've had 7 questions sent to me prior to this, which I will answer, but please do put the questions into the chat box or put your hand up, and we have got time for Q&A, quite a lot of time for Q&A at the end, so please do hang on to the end and ask your questions. So Rocky is in control of the screen, so thank you, Rocky, because we had some issues with the video on my end. And so you will hear me say, next slide, I'm afraid. So Rocky, if you could please, thank you very much. So what are we going to cover today? I will talk very briefly about what we do as a business to help universities and education establishments in the West recruit Chinese students, but we will spend the majority of the time really looking at 2 things. One, what are your key opportunities post-COVID for attracting, engaging, and more importantly, converting Chinese students for your institution for 2023 and 2024 recruitment? And what can you do as a brand to win their hearts and minds? In other words, how can you differentiate yourself in this really, really competitive market? And it has got really competitive. So the demands are there, but what can you do to stand out? And then we will have ample time, probably about 20 minutes at the end for Q&A and any discussion points. And please, if there's anything you don't agree with, I'm quite happy to be challenged, as is Rocky. So please don't feel embarrassed about asking anything. And if you really don't want to ask in front of everybody on the webinar, you can contact me at the end and I will answer later on today. Next slide, please, Rocky. So a lot of people say to me, Domenica, what on earth do you know about China? You don't look very Chinese, which is very true, half Italian. I actually entered the market 11 years ago, worked for another agency. And since then, I have worked with countless universities and education establishments and worked, my big, I suppose, forte at emerging comms, and I do a lot of, is actually integrating China and Western teams. So there is alignment, because that's a really big issue. We'll talk about that later. I've also negotiated countless partnerships with Chinese companies on behalf of the company, and we have a wholly owned foreign enterprise in China. Plus, of course, I have 26 Chinese national staff working for me. And next slide, Rocky. I'll leave you to talk about yourself. I won't talk about you on your behalf.
Good morning, everyone. This is Rocky. I'm head of the Planning and Strategy Department in Emerging Comms. I have more than 10 years experience working in China marketing strategy field. My experience gained from both big agencies in market and in here. Since 7-8 years ago, I started to go very deep into the UK university and education market. And it's my honor to see how this market grew in the last nearly decade and how student behavior changed throughout the years, and they are changing every single day. And myself had been through my own journey and as a career break student. So it's very interesting to see how diverse today's Chinese students becoming, and I'm very excited to explore more today with you all together. Thanks.
Thanks, Rocky. We work with a real eclectic and mix of university and education establishments, from groups to booking engines to universities to public schools, and we've done so for the last 7 years. And our universities, once they work with us, stay with us. And in terms of what we do everything right the way from the top of the funnel right the way to the end. So everything from customer research and insights to deciphering your secret sauce and your differentiator, through to crisis management and social listening, which is really important for universities at the moment. And then obviously planning of channels and content strategy for China, as well as activation across every single activation, both off and online. We also support on the ground events in China as well. And finally, and the most important thing with universities, is we spend a lot of time bridging the gap between your sales teams in China and your marketing activations to make sure you convert your offer holders and you have activations in order to make them not only students on campus, but also make them very sticky customers indeed, where they will actually become your ambassadors and they will become your KOCs of tomorrow. And that includes engaging with alumni as well. Thanks, Rocky. So why are we here and why is this webinar different to the one that we did a year ago? Well, things have changed a lot. As you all know on this call, the borders opened with China on January the 8th this year, much quicker than anticipated, given the narrative back in October. And we literally had, or our brands had, less than a month from the announcement. In fact, it was 10 days from the announcement on the 27th of December to pivot what they were doing. Now, it's always been a competitive market, but it's now highly competitive. We're seeing a lot less searches for students going to the US and a lot more searches for students going to the UK. And there is an increasing reliance within the narrative of very engaging video, very engaging content, and very different formats and channels to what we were seeing 2 years ago and prior to COVID. And we are seeing behavior that is not the same. If I'd sat here 7 years ago, I would have been talking solidly about agents and a lot about parents and a lot about indirect leads. Now we're talking about a lot of searches and a lot of decision making happening at a family level and happening at a student level, with students being very clear where they want to go and doing their own research. So we'll talk about that. And let's not forget, China is huge. It's fragmented. It's not just tier 1 cities. It's not just Shanghai and Beijing. We need to be aware of the nuances and the cultural differences across China, and also how to tap into, at a really granular level, your marketing so that your students really engage with it. And being relevant is critical. And this last point, I think, is the most challenging right now, because your narrative has got to continue to be relevant, and it's got to resonate with your audiences. And the words we were using in terms of tonality and the formats we were using and what we were doing 3 years ago is completely and utterly different now in terms of what we're finding we're getting engagement and leads from. And I will talk about that extensively when I talk about the Dundee case study at the end of this session. Thanks, Rocky. So let's talk about your key opportunities firstly for 2023-2024 recruitment. Number one opportunity, and that's why you're all here, I suspect, is the student numbers are increasing and demand at an all-time high. We are seeing more applications and more demand for the UK. This is basically from UCAS data, and this is from student visa data for March 2022 year ending. And so we're expecting this trend to continue. So in the next 5 years, we're expecting an uplift of 128% and 44% uplift in the next 2 years. The Home Office has also given indication that we're expecting, or we did see 34% increase 21 to 22. Now, what's important about this is that the demand is there. We know Chinese students want to study in the UK. We know they want to study in Europe. We know they want to study abroad, but we need to make your brand and your institution their institution of choice. And that is becoming more and more competitive. And they are having more and more offers. So we're also seeing a trend where more and more Chinese students are calling the UK their permanent home. So we've seen an increase in the number of PR applications and approvals at 99% in 2022. We are seeing a higher number of graduates, Chinese nationals who are graduating from PG, getting highly paid jobs, which is obviously a draw for the UK for them. And there is also a better opportunity for highly paid jobs here, in fact, than there is in China at the moment. So that is also a really big draw, as is the number of students coming here much, much younger, coming here to study GCSE, A-level, or even younger with their parents, and having UK university as a PG and UG option from a very, very young age. But the issue is differentiating yourself. It's not the lack of demand, which we'll talk about. If you look at Baidu, and Baidu is by no means the only search engine of choice in China now, and we'll talk about that a little bit, you'll notice that the searches have also gone up on Baidu Index for studying in the UK. It's substantially gone up 2022 to 2021. So we know the demand is there. And I think the political situation in the US has helped as well drive a little bit, but it really is the employability angle and the fact that the borders are open and many other reasons that the UK is #1 destination. Number 2 opportunity is also a little bit of a threat if you're not planning for it, which is this: students are taking a lot longer to decide on their study destination than they were. So historically, students would plan 6 months to a year ahead, and they would have a couple of offer holders, a couple of offers. They'd make a decision. They'd be pretty clear about what they were studying, where they were studying. Now there is an awful lot more thought that goes into it much earlier, either earlier when they're studying their undergrad in China, or earlier when they're just about to choose to do an undergrad here, or earlier if they're coming here for a PG, and they could well be a career breaker like Rocky was, and like an awful lot of my staff have been, a couple of years working, then doing a PG, then joining emerging comms. So this means that you need to think about your life cycle and your sales cycle and your funnel being a lot longer than historically. And I'm talking to our clients at the moment about what they're doing for 2024 recruitment. We're not just talking about 2023, we're talking about January 24, September 24 recruitment, as well as September 23. So you need to be thinking about this in your planning and be aware that any activation you're doing now, you could well have students not applying yet, but they are evaluating you as an institution. And that's really important to understand as part of your marketing planning and cycle.
Sorry, Dominica, just to add on that, we all know that universities' recruitment cycle and how your annual budget works. However, and the time has come that for you guys to really have recruitment target specifically per academic year on one hand, and the other hand, your branding. And we are going to touch, what does it mean of today's building a university branding to win Chinese students' hearts. It's really not like a decade ago. So really it's winning the emotional side of today's Chinese students, finding the hook and finding your unique angle to really seeding your brand even before they started their application journey.
Thanks, Rocky.
就比如说，我是22年的9月份入读，那你就需要在21年的5月份，也就是你大3的那个5月之前，就确定好你想要去的国家、学校以及专业啊。这些呢，如果你找机构的话，都要提前和机构确认好，一定要在5月之前完成。然后和流程都放在这里了。那最后呢，大家也可以截一个图。如果说有想要准备出国的宝宝们，小琴的建议还是越早准备越好，特别是对。
There's a real trend at the moment, by the way, for influencers to speed up their voice. So if your Chinese is like mine, fairly rudimentary, you'll find that quite hard to keep up with. What she's essentially saying is she is one of the trending KOCs on social media in China, encouraging students to start their preparation earlier in order to find the right place and the right institution. And it's really all about seeding to 2024 applications as well as 2023. And everybody knows the AIDA model of awareness, consideration, evaluation, but you need to really extend that now and be thinking about increasing brand reach and social followers from January to June. Then you've got driving desire and preference, reinforcing decision-making, and then targeting for applications. So you just need to think about extending your sales cycle longer when you're doing your AIDA model through your funnel from the top to the bottom of the funnel, and just be aware of it. We've had an awful lot of students, a lot of the universities come to us saying, we've got obviously a lot of applications, and we're doing a lot of work, which will soon start on actually engaging with those applicants to get them to convert into offer holders or to accept an offer. We've got an awful lot of inquiries, and I said yes, because that is students looking at the institution for 2024, so you must engage with them. So just be aware of it, because it's an opportunity, but it's a threat if you are not aware of that in terms of your time planning for your marketing activations. Next slide, please. So number 3, opportunity. And I think this is the most challenging, but if you can understand this, this is the easiest way to engage with today's Chinese students, is understanding who they are, getting under the skin of their requirements, and they're very complex. And one of the things that we talk to our clients about a lot is creating an experience and understanding that you are selling a course, yes. You're selling PG or UG, or you're selling A-levels, or you're selling GCSEs, you are, but you're selling an environment. And that's what is the number 2 driver for today's Chinese Gen Z students. What's it going to be like? What is the campus like? What's the local area like? Will I be looked after? What's my accommodation like? What are the transport links like? The list goes on and on and on. Will I get a job? Will I be supported? Will I improve my English? I mean, the questions we get through social media for our clients are very extensive, but it's about whether it suits me as an individual. It's about personalization. It's about me feeling looked after, me having left that institution. I mean, Rocky was at Warwick, and my staff were at all sorts of institutions all over Europe, and their experiences were very different, but they went for a specific experience. Yes, suitable courses, but we do find applications still coming through where they don't know what course they want to do, and they want advice on that. They just want to study in the UK. And yes, it's about teaching quality, and it's about learning environment, but whether or not it suits me as an individual is the number 2 requirement. And all too often, I still see universities not having a dialogue with their students. They are just pumping out marketing activation. And worse than that, it's the same that they were doing last year. They just changed the date on it, and it's very obvious. And that's just not going to engage with students these days. They want to see video, they want to see the environment, they want to hear from other students, they want to know what it's like to actually study there. You have to bring the place alive. You can't just talk about course structures and hear from lecturers. You have to have an eclectic mix of content on different formats, on different channels, so that you can really engage with students. Very, very important.
I think just to add on, like the ranking game, which continued for the last 2 decades, has come to a point that students are fully aware, especially Gen Z. They know they want, and they know what they want. They want a full experience rather than just getting a degree of a higher ranking university. So they make their own choice. They do their own research. They make their own choice. It's not about whether it's ranked top 10, is whether this university, the experience this university provided suits me. So, and also it's entitled to, you know, today's employer in China, HRs, not purely looking for graduates from top ranked universities. It's their real ability to tackle real life challenges. So it's kind of like, you know, how could you, it's the lifetime value, whether you can demonstrate the lifetime value you can provide to support today's very much sophisticated, you know, with their own idea, how could you provide support to better shape them to prepare for their bright future, you know, whether they can get a full experience with your university. So I guess it's complicated, their decision makings. However, it's providing more opportunities for, you know, for universities if you're not, you know, top ranked or not Russell Group. Once the dialogue's there, but the dialogue not just coming from the brand level, the dialogue from your, you know, the dialogue from your current students to your prospective students, from the voice from your alumni talking about how the university experience assists themselves to become who they are today. This is, you know, the point that you could create a real bonding with your prospective students.
Thanks, Rocky.
就是城市的大小，还有城市村不村的问题。地理位置还有一个因素呢，就是比如说这个城市的一个交通方，比如说地铁啊，有没有地铁？然后还有这个城市它是在苏格兰还是在英格兰？还有一个就是考虑的因素就是生活消费水平的问题。像你在伦敦的话，那生活那个消费的话肯定会比较高一些啊，就是说。我觉得如果你是找中介，然后中介帮你定了一些选校方案以后，我觉得你自己一定要先自己去查一下，这些学校的这些因素吧，就是一定要自己先对这些学校有一个了解，然后你考虑到你愿意去。
Speeding up the voice is a thing, because you got loads of videos on today's Chinese social media channels, so they just try to shoehorn as much as information within 30 seconds. So we are very used to it, apparently. So I think she made a very good point in here of the relationship today's Chinese students with education agents have changed. So from years ago that, because of the information barrier, because of the language barrier, university fully rely on agent to, take from the very end to the very from the very beginning to the very end of their whole application journey. While today's Gen Z students, they use the agents to do the legworks, to do the basic research, and they do their own research on parallel, and they just leverage the agent to complete some documentation work, but they would do their own comparison. So which means that as a university, your direct to consumer communication has become more and more important day by day, that the relying on agents sales tool doesn't really work as well as previously. Some of you would probably already feel that why your agent's performance are dropping, because we're talking about a very different Gen Z generation here, that who are eager to communicate with university directly, or more importantly, communicate to your current student directly, follow them on social media to see what does it feel to actually studying here, rather than purely comparing based on rankings, based on whatever you put on your website. So they do their own research from every single channel they can find information on.
So just to summarize opportunities for 2023 and 2024 recruitment for Chinese students, there's more demand, but that means you need to make your information very, very easy for every step of the sales funnel to find. And that means you need to use multitude of channels, including WeChat, which we'll go into, and it needs to be relevant and easy to find for students, so that you can cope really with the fact that there's more demand, but it's highly competitive. They're taking longer to make decisions. Typically, it used to be 6 months to a year. It's now more like 1 year to 2 years. And that means you need to nurture the funnel at every step of the student journey and think of it as a 24-month cycle, not as a 12-month cycle. And requirements have changed. So highlighting unique experiences that you provide is going to be as important as rankings, and it's got to be something that needs to be part of your content strategy in order to engage and convert Chinese students. Next slide. So one thing I'd like to ask all of you on this webinar, and feel free to answer this at the end, but to think about it, is we know that Chinese students have changed significantly in the last 3 to 4 years, especially. I'd love to hear from you, or what you have spotted at your institution has changed in terms of behaviour, in terms of search behaviour, in terms of students on campus, in terms of demands, in terms of messages you might get through social media you didn't used to have before. We will be talking a little bit now about the emerging segments and behaviour and search requirements that they're looking for. But I'd love you to think about this, because it'd be lovely to hear some anecdotal evidence at the end when we have question time as to whether or not you agree and whether you're actually seeing these trends or you haven't spotted them yet. I'll carry on, Rocky, and then your bits after this, I believe. So today's Chinese Gen Z are very different to the students we were targeting 5-6 years ago. They are extremely savvy, and by that I mean digitally savvy. They are used to searching for everything themselves. They're used to using everything from social media through to search, through to asking friends, doing their own research. And they are very much about what's in it for me. That's saying in marketing, WIFM, what's in it for me? They're individual. They want an individual experience that suits them individually. And that's why you find that a lot of the broadcast type Chinese social media and Chinese marketing that used to appeal 5-6 years ago no longer gets any engagement, because the student feels, well, that's not me. I can't relate to that. That's totally not me at all. They very much know what they want, as Rocky said. They're experienced and have a lot of global experience ahead of even coming to the UK, whether that's having studied here for a little bit, or their parents have, or they've been on holiday here. So they are very, what I would call Europeanized, globalized individuals. They know what they want. They want an experience, and they make it very clear that's what they want. And their motivations are very much around independency, experience, and job opportunities. So one of the things that Rocky mentioned was she was a career breaker from Warwick, graduated from Warwick, joined us 6 years ago. And very much the UK is seen as a really good location for job opportunities. And this is because in China, there are less job opportunities at the moment. And actually, even given the fact that we are in recession in the UK, there is more job opportunities here for graduates than there are in China. And that is very much a draw. They also want to gain experience. So you'll see an awful lot of Chinese students at UG and PG looking for internships, a lot of postgraduate working visas, a lot of wanting to gain experience outside of work. Different hobbies, different life experiences, a lot of travel, and they want to feel that they're here and they're independent of their parents, but yet they are nurtured and looked after. So there's that real balancing act. They want pastoral care within the institution, but they want to feel that they're independent. These sorts of motivations and these sorts of draws are what should be thread through your narrative in terms of marketing. And it's really important not just to be blasting out information purely about course structure, purely about how you apply, purely about where on this ranking. It's got to be thinking about what will the experience be like at the university and when you leave the university. And we find videos of today's students on campus and then alumni talking about the jobs that they got, so engaging and highly shared. And we get lots of questions and applications that way. So it's definitely about what the experience is like, as opposed to just what the university is saying. They want to hear from the students themselves. So you can't treat all students the same. And getting under the skin of today's target market, there are so many different clusters for today's Chinese students. And we've just given you a couple here, but what we're trying to really demonstrate is that with your marketing, you can't just do broadcast marketing on channels, hope it will stick. You've got to be thinking about motivations of different types of students. So we picked a couple here to demonstrate that. The first being Gen Z elite. GWA, chicken baby, child with pushy parents. We all know these parents, by the way. I know a lot of them. We call them helicopter parents here. You know, oh, little Johnny, I'm at everything. I watch everything he does. I don't give him any breathing space. Well, for a lot of Chinese students from elite families, this is the reality. And actually going to university is the one chance they get for some independence and some breathing space. And so the experience that they're going to get when they go away is a major, major consideration. And these students have a lot of money and they come from a lot of money, but the expectation of what job they're going to get, what degree they're going to get, what postgrad they're going to get, where they go is very, very high. And they're looking for experiences to travel. They're looking for experiences for feeling that it's the best time of their life, building their network, all of those things, because that is expected for these kids from these families. And we all know these kids, right? And I know these kids in the UK. So it's all about what Jemima will end up doing with her life to please mummy and daddy. But the independent side of it is really important, and understanding their requirements as an individual so they can have a bit of breathing space. So that's one of your segments. Yeah.
Sorry, we are gonna showcase you a couple of video clips you might love. But the videos we're gonna show you right now, the students, the younger generation you are gonna see, I have to be honest, if they want to get in, they can get in any university they want around the world. So they are comparing. I actually have a young friend, he's 17 and he's exploring his future destination. He spent 2 months in New York and 2 months in Europe, because he can get in any university he wants, but he just spent time exploring which city I prefer. The atmosphere matters to them.
Oh, can you speak English? How good do you think your English is?
Not the same as native speaker, but close.
Already sounds pretty good. On a level of 1 to 10, what would you say your English is?
5.
5? Why does everyone say 5? I think you must be above 5.
Nah, self-evaluation is very essential for us, and we cannot over-appreciate our English skill.
Wow, really? Self-evaluation is very essential for us.
You have to be critical.
Your English is good.
No, we have to be critical. Otherwise, everybody thinks they're genius. They're not genius, actually. So, you know.
Wow.
Especially when you're in school like this.
Yeah.
You have to think you're average. Otherwise, you're just going to be below average. You know, sometimes others are better than you, and you have to take the fact that you're not the best student.
I think it's good to give yourself some credit sometimes, though. Don't be so hard on yourself.
All right.
What's your name?
My name's Michael.
Michael.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. I'm Spencer.
All right.
Hello, 打扰你了. Can you speak English? She has a test, but she can't speak English. I'll let her go. How about this, Shraiga? Can you speak English? On a level of 1 to 10, how good do you think your English is?
6.
6. Okay, everyone's saying 5 or 6 today. But I think if you already understand that question, you're probably higher than a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, maybe I study ICC, so we have English classes and every teacher speaks English, so we can understand English.
What's your favorite subject here at ICC?
Biology.
Biology. Okay. Do you want to be a biologist one day?
Of course.
Okay. Good luck, man. I appreciate that. And what's your name?
Michael.
Michael. Another Michael. Cool, man.
Non-fiction reading? Like the reading of scientific journals and such, because I really lack vocabulary in these areas.
4.5.
4.5?
Yeah.
So where is the 0.5? What do you still lack?
I think I lack speaking skills.
Speaking skills?
Yeah.
Really? I think you speak very well.
Thanks. Only 3 to 4.
Are you just being humble, or?
Yes. No. Actually, I'm not really good at English as these two guys.
Okay.
I'm perhaps just about 4. My oral English is not as good as the other two.
Okay.
Yeah, orally speaking, I will give myself a 4. But in terms of grammar and...
Oh, too low, man. 4.9 I give you for oral.
Okay.
Speaking.
In terms of grammar and lexical resource, I would just give myself a 3 because I have not much of...
Listen to this guy. Lexical resource. Come on. 3? So
Really good at English.
humble.
No, I'm not.
I disagree. At least 4.5. I've only heard you speak 10 words, and I can already tell your pronunciation is very, very standard.
My speed is actually lower than the native speakers
That's okay.
Who we do debating together. And during debating, I feel like my English sucks.
Oh, because in debate you need to speak faster because you have limited time.
Yeah.
Oh. So you said you spoke Spanish as well?
yes.
Any other languages?
I would want to learn more languages, but I think...
Yeah, we're gonna stop here. We just give you an idea of they are a particular segment we call elite Gen Z, and you see them in Shanghai, you see them in major cities in China, in bilingual schools, in international schools. They were raised from since very young age as the future global talents. That's their parents' aim, that's their own aim. So we're not saying that, you know, you have to pay a special, in terms of your university, I guess, you know, whether we're just showcasing whether you have spotted this particular segment, and how could you communicate with them better, because apparently they are looking for more experience, global internship replacement to even broaden their vision, which is already, I think, much better than myself. So whether you can give them a you know, other language courses along with their own study, or a second degree, or replacement in between UK and the other Europe destination, but they are rising this particular segment, and you almost need to treat them as native, as any European student. Yeah. Domenica, shall I continue to the next?
Yes, please.
Segment?
Young professionals, which we see a lot of in terms of emerging comms. So there is a word that I've not heard so much over here, but you see a lot in China, called evolution or evoluted professionals. This is burnout. And for those that don't know, it's very, very normal in China, 8 to 6 days a week, 8, 8, 6. And literally no time to have a life at all. And it's almost expected. And a lot of professionals feel burnt out, tired, and completely and utterly fed up. It's a real trending topic on social media. And at a lot of this point, what happens is Chinese professionals think, do you know what, I'm going to go and do a PG, even if it's another one, over in Europe, over in the UK. I need a change of scene. I need a change of pace. This is just not for me. And this is something that you need to be really aware of with older PG applicants, that they have chosen to come over to the UK to study, but actually they've got significant working experience. So they're looking for the PG actually to leapfrog them into a really good job where they can have a bit of work-life balance. And I think Rocky is the best possible example of that when she left China. Yeah.
I did that 8 years ago. When after 3 years of working in big agency in global agency in Beijing, I decided to come to the UK and study a PG degree to boost my career. However, I have to say, in my generation, that was quite a rare a route you would take, because I don't really know, in my age, it's pretty, I'm quite unique. I was quite unique, the choice I made. However, in today's China, in light of what's going on and the pressure young professionals facing today in China, we are seeing a lot of young professionals actually taking career break and finding their new destination, not just for study, but with a couple of years working experience in a different country, or even thinking about settlement, purchasing property, etc., starting their own business. It's very, very trending now on today's social media, especially video platforms. We've seen topics like, I'm already 30-year-old. I made a decision that I come to the UK to study and look for a very different journey, and I'm standing by my choice. And hey, this is my everyday life now. I'm feeling happy, fulfilled, and full of energy. So these are spreading further through the video channels, and it's becoming a choice for today's young professionals coming to the UK for a fresh experience. We also have not just me, we also have one of our colleague who decided to left us for for pursuing her dream in a European destination. So I will leave Domenica to share this story with you guys.
So Maggie headed up our China team for 3 years, and her dream was always to study in Europe. In fact, she's one of the few members of my staff in the China or London team that hasn't studied in Europe. And she came to me and said, I know I probably shouldn't ask because I work for you, but I'd really love you to write me a recommendation for an MBA program in Germany, which of course I did. I was delighted to, and she got accepted and she started in September, which is absolutely wonderful for her. Not so wonderful for me, but absolutely wonderful. And she's loving it. And then she posted this on LinkedIn, which was really sweet of her. And she's an example of somebody, not so much on the burnt out end, may I say, because she worked for us, but who just decides that actually they've worked for a bit and they want to go and do a PG in Europe. And her journey is very, very similar to what we see for our university brands. Yeah.
You might ask, like, how would you find them? How would you locate them? How would you know that whether your course is appealing to this specific career break segmentation? You would be amazed how much your recruitment data can tell you. Their age, the courses they apply, business school, MBA course. So I remember a couple of years ago, while we were doing data analysis with one of our university clients, we found that specific subjects, their students came from China aged above 25. That's a big hint of the fact that you're actually attracting career break students, young professionals try to pursue a better future in their career path. So, and in terms of targeting them and engaging with them, it's quite different from fresh grad, undergrad students. So we could leverage on job hunting apps in China because of the LinkedIn major function of LinkedIn being blocked in China. So China has their own version of job hunting apps or professional communities, which you could also push out display ads to specifically promote your business course or MBA course. So this is really a winning segment again for you to think of, whether you could communicate with this segment better to connect, engage, and eventually sell your experience to them.
And then we have hybrid students, which might, if you can just next slide, please, Rocky, which you might not even think about, but you would be amazed at how many students coming to the UK are already influencers, creators. And then they carry on being influencers when they get on campus. You need to spot these students, by the way, because these are gold dust. Because if you've got students on campus that are already influencers and already shooting video, have a lot of followers, and you can get them to engage with the university about their positive experiences, it is absolute gold dust for you. But you need to be aware that there are an awful lot of Chinese students who make their own way to university over here, and they're pretty much funding it. And they're funding it because they are KOLs in their own right. And we've worked with some. So we've worked with some recently who have graduated from UK universities and are now incredible influencers. There's one that we work with who is studying mathematics at Oxbridge. I can't remember if it's Cambridge or Oxford, in a PG, but she's got hundreds of thousands of followers and she's an investment KOL, and we use her for a lot of our property activation. And that's just one of many that we use. But just be aware that these are just two examples of KOLs, one at Goldsmiths, one at Queen Mary, who have huge followings and have chosen, even though they are very, very well-known influencers, to come over here. You then have those that become influencers when they come here. So they're either influencers before they come or the influencers when they come. Rocky?
Yeah, I guess trying to in our so they are not only studying in media degrees, they are not only just studying in London-based universities. They could be PhD level, they could be Oxford, Cambridge student. I I couldn't imagine how they manage their life to be a hybrid student slash influencer slash entrepreneur. But it seems like today's Chinese Gen Z could just master their life like that. So as Dominica said, you gotta spot them if they're already in your university. Or I remember, Dominica, 2 weeks ago when we were doing this offline education workshop with CBBC, we had a university delegate particularly ask us, because they are actually in a conversation with a prospective student who's really confident, emailing them saying that I am already an influencer with millions of followers on Chinese social media. However, it's a little bit struggling for me to reach your entry requirement of a specific course, and then you know, they're basically trying to trade in with the university of, you know, I could become your brand ambassador, and you know, could you lower the bar for me? I guess this is by case. I think I gave the advice to that university, like, you know, if you're struggling with lower the bar for her, you could recommend some courses that are more suitable to her experience and with lower bars. For example, rather than a business course, could be a media, more creative course. I guess as we said, like, you know, today's students, they're very confident of speaking out and, you know, seizing the opportunities. So, and if you haven't spotted any, the best platform to come is definitely Little Red Book. We do regular social listening practice for our university client to help them spot on, you know, existing influencers or influencers to be, to see whether there's any opportunity of collaborating with them. But they are it's becoming a thing. Every single year we have some of very well-known Gen Z, young influencers coming to the UK for study. It's actually boosting their influencing career, because they leverage this year or a couple of years in the UK as a perfect timing for creating fresh content for their follower base. As Dominica mentioned, we are working with universities to help them to find those you know, KOLs or influencer has those authentic, unique attachment with the university. This is just a example of we work together with a very well-known Chinese entrepreneur influencer, live in the UK at the moment. She graduated from Surrey University, and we use her as a perfect voice of demonstrating the lifetime value Surrey University gave her, and how that supported her becoming an entrepreneur and influencer today.
Right, so when we did this webinar before, it was actually done face-to-face, and so we suggested that there'd be a bit of a break, but I'm conscious that with a webinar that's a bit of an odd thing to do, because people will just go and get a coffee anyway, so we will continue, if that's okay. And I'm going to move over to Rocky now. Thanks, Rocky.
Thank you, but please jump in. We can, yeah.
Cool.
I guess we've opened today's session with some macro trends, and then we drove into how, you know, the rising segments of today's younger Chinese students, and how you will be able to spot them to engage with them better. However, just emphasize that the three segments we just showcased, we're not saying that these are your target segments. Just give you an idea of, you know, how you could potentially explore your own segmentation or redefine your segmentation based on the recruitment data, based on social listening, based on actually talking to your current students. Have you done any interview with your current student to ask why they chose your university, that sort of things really helps you to dig out the deeper motivation and why they chose you. And then that forms the actual unique selling point of your university, rather than you might be surprised, but it might not be what you think your unique selling points are to today's Chinese students. So now I'm just gonna move to how do you engage with them. Very common struggle of university or education provider like you, it's how do you manage so many channels at the same time, and how do you justify which new channel you shall jump on with limited budget and limited resource. So you probably feel very lost in the complex Chinese digital jungle today. We just want to emphasize in here that before you think about channel, think about context. That's why we introduced today's students behavior first, because you got to understand where they're looking for information and why they come to, when they come to a particular platform, what they are looking for, and how would they engage, who would they engage with. For example, you'll probably find your Weibo content marketing is not working as well as 5 years ago. You probably find that your WeChat articles reads are dropping year by year. This is because universities, today's Chinese students, or in not just your sector, like today's Chinese consumers has already redefined brands communication completely. So previously it's more like broadcasting, especially for universities. It's very common that you have a Chinese website, you use your Weibo and WeChat like billboard, you post, you localize some of the content from your central marketing, and then that's enough. However, today we're talking about decentralized communication or multidimensional communications. Well, simply having you as a brand trying to broadcast information to your target audience, they would not you would just gonna lost in this very noisy digital jungle, because you can't really control which platforms they are going to. You can't really control how information was spreading, whether it's from your current student, whether it's from your alumni, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. Negative news always travel way faster than positive brand news. And so today's Chinese Gen Z, they are very savvy. They are sharing information every single day. They are engaging with, a lot of stakeholders the way they want, and they receive timely information, and they are browsing every different. They're using different channels for different purposes. So just cut into these essential that you probably very familiar with these 4 icons, in addition to Weibo, WeChat, Baidu, and your website. So these 4 channels, we're calling them the channels that you can no longer ignore when you're trying to engage with today's Chinese students. However, they are very different. Putting effective content on these channels are challenging for university, because it's calling for innovative and evolving content that you gotta keep up with the trending topic, keep up with the students demands, the students what students interested, and that's changing very quickly. So you almost couldn't really conduct any content plan a month earlier, because you got to keep up with them. So we are going to give you some top tips today of how to master these emerging channels, or we couldn't call them emerging anyway. They are becoming mainstreaming channels. They are the channels that they are part of the reason why you're seeing decreased performance or readership on your traditional Weibo WeChat channels. Answer the ultimate question, how to choose which channel. If you haven't started new channels, how to choose which channel to begin with. You can't think of any channel in silo. You gotta put them in this funnel. I know it's quite scary. we put them like this, but this is basic. This is not really that complicated. It's the model that everybody knows. However, mapping your channel plan into this funnel is key, and it should really be the very first step. So to align with today's students' behavior. And in here, you would probably already spot some of the channels going through the whole funnel from the advocate, from the top beginning to the stage they make their final decision of which offer they take, and then they become a content provider themselves. They are the advocate of your university. They're sharing their experience. So if you haven't done this mapping, we suggest that you do it sooner rather than later, so you know how to measure your success of each funnel, because some of the channel for inquiry generation, demand generation, but some of the channel really should be branding focused. We are just gonna drill down into channel by channel now, but if you have any question, feel free to pop in the chat box. We can discuss later in today's session. Little Red Book. 2 years ago, we wouldn't really consider using it for education provider, because 2 or 3 years ago, it was still a shopping Bible type of platform and dominated by young female users. However, now it becomes a Bible for everything, especially when it comes to studying tips, when it comes to how-to type of things, and especially when it comes to showcasing their own life when they're living abroad, studying abroad. It becomes a mainstream channel that today's Chinese students looking for information. And also the important thing is, I guess, it's in Little Red Book, every single user is content creator. So when they are browsing information on Little Red Book, they knew the content's general. They knew the content is not as commercial as Weibo, WeChat. So they want to engage with the real, the current student. They want to ask direct questions. They want to hear from the real people who's experiencing your university rather than hearing from your brand. I'm going to showcase you how, today's Chinese students are using Little Red Book through this video clip.
A little bit about me. I am a teacher who came from the Chinese online ESL industry, and obviously I was very shaken when things shut down last August, and for Xiaohanshu, and I was able to recruit some students there. Right now I have 20 students enrolled in my classes since January is when I really launched there, and even a few students who are in Europe who found me there as well. So that was pretty interesting too. So I'm always exploring that app and trying to get the word out to other teachers, because maybe it's something people don't know about.
Yeah, I think it's something that a lot of people don't know about, including myself. I do have the app, but not really sure how to use it. So if you're just joining us today or you're watching the replay, Kinga is here to share her expertise on how to use a great Chinese social media app that can be accessed by pretty much anyone to recruit students in China and clearly worldwide.
Yeah, it's not just, I guess, Little Red Book is not just used by students in China. It's it's used by global Chinese as well. So it's a perfect communication tool for your current students to engage with prospective students and to engage with influencers. The video clips we showcased you earlier in today's session, we got them from Little Red Book. So as I said, it has already become a mainstream platform used by today's Chinese Gen Z who's looking for tips of studying abroad. So if any one of you are still confused of what is Little Red Book, feel free to raise your hand, and then we have a complete Little Red Book guide that we could send you later on to help you understand this platform better. But today, let's zoom into how today's Chinese students are using this platform and what's the implication for your brand. So one of the trending topic now on Little Red Book shared by Chinese students who's already studying in the UK is they're using it to post their immersive experience. I don't know how a study in the UK university libraries video could get so many views and engagements, but apparently the prospective students are very interested in those type of content that give them an immersive experience and look and feel of how does it look like to study in one of the university, and not very surprisingly, that food is always a big topic for Chinese students. So we've got a hashtag on Little Red Book specifically talking about the dining hall in UK universities or the cafeterias in UK university and reached more than 2 million views. So I guess what I'm trying to say in here is that current students are using Little Red Book as a platform to share their everyday life, and prospective students find it super useful for them to decide which destination or decide which particular university. And as a brand, you got a lot of earned mentions if you have students and influencers actively posting their daily life on Little Red Book. Another trending topic is budgeting. They are even looking for budgeting tips on of 1 year studying or 3 year studying in the UK on Little Red Book. So there are every single aspect of decision making of choosing a suitable university to study in. They use Little Red Book as the #1 search engine for authentic experience posted by their peers, posted by current students. So if you haven't started on Little Red Book, this is how we suggest. We're not saying that you should jump in directly to open your own account, because then that takes a lot of effort, resource, and to generate content and as a brand to engage with students. We strongly suggest that you can start with social listening on Little Red Book to understand what is the current, to keep up with your target audience, to guide your content creation for other channels, and to monitor your brand sentiment, to understand what's the current buzz surrounding your brand name, what are the current students are talking about you, what are the keywords they mention, what experience they value the most. So that's social listening. And #2, you could start with collaborating with influencers on Little Red Book. And then you kind of get an understanding of how to engage with today's Chinese students through step 1 and step 2, and then you can think about establishing your own presence on Little Red Book. However, we strongly suggest that use the support of your current Chinese student ambassador on Little Red Book to help the content go further, because as we mentioned, it's a platform of sharing authentic experience rather than having your brand to post brand-led content. nobody would engage with you if you're doing it as in a traditional way of, just posting some branded video, just localize some post. That is just not the way it is to engaging with today's Chinese students on this particular platform. So it's influencer driven, it's driven by your current students. So a practice we could suggest in here is, that we've seen a lot of universities still doing incentive campaigns, encouraging them, the current students, to share their own video, to share their image during key festival season or fresh week. That should really be on Little Red Book rather than Weibo and WeChat today. So here we have a proven practice of how we help Unite Students Accommodation, one of our longtime clients, to really engage with their target audience through Little Red Book. So you can tell from the cover that it's not just localized content. It's content that really appealing to today's Gen Z and also align with the platform's nature. So we're using it to engaging with current tenants or current students with lifestyle content, entitled with seasonal campaign, season topics. We're offering practical tips for prospective students, and we're using it to drive not just online but also offline engagements. Offline gatherings, we're announcing out through Little Red Book, and we're constantly collaborating with influencers. And more importantly, as I touched slightly earlier on, is the brand protection bit. So we are doing daily monitoring powered by AI tool, that whether there's any negative mention of your brand, we would just pick them up immediately and deal with it offline, because Little Red Book really has also become the #1 go-to platform if today's Chinese students are not happy with their experience with you. So this is just an overview of what you could do on Little Red Book as a education provider today. So now I'm gonna drill down into videos. So we don't need to emphasize how important video is in today's Chinese marketing communication. However, you might already notice that we're not talking about the branded video. We're not talking about the professional video shot by your branding team that giving an introduction, and just like 5 years ago you would use in any offline education fair. We are talking about the creative videos, the videos that really appealing to Gen Z's taste, just very like the videos you would put on your TikTok, Western TikTok, Western Douyin platform. So, however, we all know how much effort need to be put behind, video content creation, and not even mentioning it, if you want to update it on weekly basis. So how you are gonna balance the must-have video with limited resource on your end? We're just gonna firstly start with Douyin. Just as we put in here in the title, start with targeted ads. It's actually a very precise. You can do very precise targeting on Douyin. Native ads, display ads to reach out to your customer without having to establish your official brand presence and posting organic content. You can open an advertising account, as we do for many of our clients, and then push out that highly targeted video ads to reach out and engage with your targeted segments. These just are some examples. Again, Unite student, you can tell the look and feel of the video ads. Basically, the video ad would appear on your target audience Douyin feed, and then with video playing, demonstrating. as you can see probably in here, it's a call to action button of inquiry now. So it's a full funnel within Douyin platform. You're not taking your target audience to your website, or everything would be done within one click of that button. They can fill in inquiry form, and that could link to your CRM or be passed to your China office or a specific recruitment team. So we have proven practice of, leveraging Douyin as one of the major platform to push out targeted ads and receive really good conversion rate and quality inquiries. This is another case study that we've done for North Anglia Education, who is trying to promoting their bilingual schools to Chinese high net worth parents in major cities in China. So again, we leverage Douyin as the platform to demonstrate the experience, and then
今天就由我们来带领大家参观校园 ，Let's go！ 为什么物体会落到地上？为什么火焰是五颜六色的？为什么
？So having an actual student to explain her experience is very appealing to today's Chinese parents, the helicopter parents. They wanna having picture in mind, oh, this is what my little Johnny would experience in this university, etc. And you can tell in this inquiry form that it's seamless journey. So you're the target audience, you've been pushed this video ads in your timeline, and then normally you wouldn't really notice it's advertising. And then after the video play, you always have a clear call to action to go into the next step of the journey. Again, as I mentioned, what we just showcased, what we call Douyin targeted ads, is different from opening a university Douyin account and push out organic content, creative video content every single day. This is the advertising function of Douyin platform, which we have many proven practice of getting qualified leads. Some of you might already very familiar with this Bilibili platform, which is the Chinese GenZ's YouTube channel. So I will have someone to explain that to you.
On this app, just like YouTube, you will find content galore, tons of videos, anything that you like. So most of the people that use Bilibili are actually of a little bit of a younger age, just because it's a bit of a newer app. So basically on here, people can do basically what they can on YouTube, okay? So you can post videos, you can interact with fans, you can live stream, and you can make money. But what I do find really interesting about Bilibili, and actually more than just Bilibili, other Chinese social media platforms that we don't have in the West, is something called Danmu. Now let me show you what Danmu is. It's basically when comments can pop up on the screen and people can interact with you at a certain time in the video. So people can respond kind of in real time and react to things that you're doing in the video. Whereas on YouTube, I see a comment and it's kind of a general comment about the whole video, and that's basically it. Yeah, so I just thought that was kind of interesting. And you know,
yeah, let me
on this app, just like
so the Bilibili, it's very, very different platform. It's not powered by short video. It's really a go-to platform for today's Gen Z to enhance their knowledge really and having some fun. So it's the perfect place to have storytelling video, but again, it's not branded video. It's collaborating with influencers, collaborating with your current students to to showcase the university experience in a very creative way or in different scenario. You almost need to create dialogues through your video script with Bilibili users. So actually, we have seen more and more UK universities. So some of you in today's session may already have your university's account open on Bilibili. However, according to the performance we are monitoring, we've seen universities struggling with Bilibili content because if you just post branded video on Bilibili, normally you wouldn't really get higher engagement or impressions because that's not really what the students want. They want to actually engage with you through the video. So storytelling is the number one. If you only remember one thing about Bilibili, it's always storytelling. So how could you tell your university story on Bilibili better? We have some case study we can showcase you about how we collaborate with influencer to put the university experience in the storyline, and however you but almost you need to have your audience not aware that this is actually a promotional video. They would feel like it's a story that resonating with them. That's what we call branding video, works for today's Chinese students on Bilibili, and it's very, very different from the traditional brand-led video. Before I showcase you the influencer collaboration video, here is just a case study of how we help the University of Stirling leveraging targeted ads on Bilibili, which is the targeted ads on Bilibili is quite similar to Douyin. You can push out storytelling videos to demonstrate, showcase your university experience to the target segments you are targeting through Bilibili. So we managed to again 1K followers within a year with very good performance in terms of reach and engagement, ranked on top 5 among all of the UK universities who are actively promoting themselves on Bilibili. And here's a case study or a video that we collaborated together with University of Dundee, leverage the power of a Bilibili influencer who actually created this scenario together with us to tell a story of himself actually promoting the university. It's a very long video, so I'm just gonna play a short clip to give you an idea of how this storytelling works.
Family meeting. What's this about?
Family meeting. So guys, I've been thinking long and hard. I'm starting a business. A food truck. It's Chinese street food.
You probably have 3 customers here anyway.
Max, I think it's a great idea, but have you got a business plan? Well, competitive analysis, pricing, the name, a logo, like licensing, funding.
Do you do events? Do you
do festivals?
I think I'm gonna need some more help with this.
Yo， 大家好，我是小马。今天呢，我在苏格兰顿迪。I'm here to meet 我的一个朋友，他是有创业经验的，他叫 Sean。Hello， 欢迎来到苏格兰。我是想开一个餐车。Like maybe have some help you can give me。没问题。我现在最难的事情就是 I have no guidance, no help。我来找你，因为你有经历。Hopefully you can lead me in the right direction。
我刚刚开始来学校的时候，就参加过学校 Enterprise Challenge， 几十组参加，我们组是最后剩下来的大概6组。每一周我们都会有老师来教我们，你为什么会有这个想法？你的客户群体是怎样子的？怎么样去做这个预算？团队里面的人员的分配。
That sounds like exactly what I need because I've got an idea， 但是我的 idea 只是一个小颗粒。
没有关系，我今天跟你约了创业中心的老师。
No，
我们可以一起去看一看。
Let's go。
It's actually promoting University of Dundee's career support and drill down into the hot topic of surrounding today's Gen Z entrepreneurship ideas. So you almost feel like you're watching an episode of something, but you wouldn't really tell. It's actually promoting the university, but really have a scenario that today's Chinese student could resonate with themselves. We got really positive feedbacks from prospective students and a lot of engagements. They want to understand more how this university supports entrepreneurship. So this is just one video campaign we've done together with University of Dundee. Now I'm gonna hand over to Domenica, who's gonna use University of Dundee's case study to demonstrate what does it mean by driving today's Chinese students recruitment effectively.
Thanks, Rocky. I'm conscious I've got 6 minutes to do this, and we're supposed to have Q&A, which I may well have to just email the answers. So moving on to the University of Dundee. So I'm going to demonstrate how we work with the University of Dundee to effectively change the way that things were being done and to rebuild their sales funnel, essentially, and to drive student recruitment for the university. Next slide, please. So it all starts with a solid strategy. We've talked quite a lot about customer centricity, understanding your students, understanding the parents, engaging with them on the level that they want, but you also have to take into account having a look at the macro environment, so having a look at reports, having a look and being very clear where you as a university sit within your market and what is your secret sauce. And to that end, these are the number of things that we did for the Dundee before we even started mapping out their channels. We interviewed agents, we did some mystery shopping to decipher where the gaps were in their comm strategy, where the gaps were in their channel strategy, were there any points at which in the customer journey the students weren't getting the right information or they weren't getting it in a timely fashion. We had a look at the competitors for University of Dundee within their competitive set. What were they doing in terms of brand buzz and visibility and share of voice, and what was their content and channel strategy? Could we learn anything from them? Could we derive where University of Dundee sat within that competitive set and what the gap was that we needed to fill? We also looked at their Chinese website, looked at the user journey, had a number of things that we needed to fix in order for the application journey to be shortened considerably. And then we looked right the way at the bottom of the funnel. What happened when there was an application? What happened with the student? How often were they spoken to? How were they spoken to? How were they converted? What was the data surrounding that? So that you end up with a whole loop from start to end of the funnel in terms of student recruitment. Next slide, please. And it's also about, once you can decipher the gaps in that sales funnel, it's about smart budgeting. Not one university or education establishment has got bottomless pockets. In fact, a lot of budgets have been frozen this year, yet the numbers of students and the targets have gone up because the board believes that there is more opportunity, yet there's more competition. You've got to be so much smarter when you actually allocate the budget. So what we did was we looked at the way that we allocated their content in terms of content mix and the way that we allocated the budget by channel in order to mitigate risk and in order to provide the best return. And in terms of content mix, we decided to do a real mixture of subject content and content around different faculties, but also, as we talked about earlier, a lot of the content mix was around what it was like to actually study at the university. And we did a lot of deep dives into some priority subjects for Dundee that we recognised could be a draw for a lot of students. So we balanced out the budget with the content mix in terms of our content planning. And obviously we can't show this. And then we created a bespoke China comms framework right the way from top to bottom for different personas in terms of students on different channels with different tonality, with different promotional hooks, all based on what we had deciphered were the unique mix of unique selling points for Dundee versus their competitors. So in other words, what was actually going to interact and engage with the students to actually get them to apply and accept an offer at the University of Dundee. And then finally, and this is the most important thing of all really, is to make sure that we fill the gaps in the funnel right the way from top to bottom. So what were we going to do in terms of awareness? What channels do we need to leverage that weren't there? And before we started working with Dundee, and when Linda presented this at the last session that we did, they didn't have Douyin. They had some Baidu, and they didn't have Little Red Book. And they had limited presence on Weibo. So we had to fill in the gaps of what needed to be done. We had to set up some channels, we had to re-engage others, and we had to have a very robust content strategy right the way from top to bottom of funnel in terms of which channels we used to engage with students and what was the content that we used in order to drive inquiries. Next slide, please. Oh, so yeah, if you want to add something.
Yeah, just want to add KPI setting. KPI setting and tracking on each stage of the funnel by channel. So which enable university or education provider to be very agile of your media budget split, because as Dominica mentioned, nobody got bottomless budget. So we keep very close monitoring, keep track of the performance to the benchmark and to against our set KPI. And then once I identify that this channel works particularly good, and then we will allocate more budget into it because we know it's working. However, it requires clear tracking mechanism from end to end.
Thanks, Rocky. Yes, forgot that bit. And so ultimately, what are we looking at in terms of results? So in just 5 months, we were managed to generate 578 direct inquiries, and they had historically relied on agent inquiries. And we grew followers by nearly 800. But if you have a look at the engagement, 12,620 engagements on their content, 23 million impressions, and 108,000 clicks. It is, for me, it's all about engagement, and it's all about number of inquiries, because to be honest with you, impressional data, anybody can make that up. We don't. A lot of agencies do. Be very careful if somebody just provides you with impression data. It's really about engagement, and it's about inquiries. That's true data. And then it's about us working with Dundee, which we are, on taking those inquiries and making sure that they convert into students on campus. So it's about 3 things for me. It's about a robust content strategy that is really going to resonate and engage with your student audiences in today's China, not 3 years ago. It's about knowing what channels to leverage at the what time of the funnel, and it's making sure you've got no broken links between marketing and between sales. Thank you, Rocky. And we also, and I'm going to move over to Rocky just for the last couple of final minutes, using data is very, very, very important, especially in the early strategy stages, the planning stages. And all too often when we speak to universities, they don't even have some of this data, or they don't know where to get it. And it's this data that will decipher for us where they sit in their competitive mix, and also how we can approach both channels, how we can approach acquisition, and where the holes are. And largely, there are 3 main pots of data. There's customer data, so student journeys. Where did they apply from? What subjects did they apply for? Why did they not take up an offer? What's the conversion status of offer holders? That data should reside with either QS if you're using them, or a third party, or even in-house if you're doing it yourself. But the big data, which we do for all of our universities and all our education establishments, is really social listening platforms. And basically we invest an awful lot of money in software to be able to decipher what your students are saying about your institution. What's the user generated content? What's the buzz? Is it negative? Is there anything that we need to essentially deal with? Is there positive sentiment? What are competitors doing? That big data is very important to paint a picture in terms of your competitive positioning. And then of course you've got marketing data, which you should have your hands on in terms of number of applications, the cost per acquisition, and also what channels are driving the most inquiries and what your conversion status looks like. So don't forget how important data is that you've already got, and use that to help to plan out your sales funnel. Yes, Rocky.
I think you've covered it better than me. So I guess just adding one point of the customer data, because you got the data, but because the context is changing every year. So if you haven't really looked into the past 3 years of your recruitment data in terms of identify your star courses and potential courses, and who are your previous applicants, when they apply, were they applied last minute, were they applied very early in the application cycle, and understand the conversions, and where did you lose them, and what are the courses that you gotta probably drop because they are not just attracting to Chinese students, what are the courses that you don't really need put further budget because they are stars already. So if you haven't done that, we strongly suggest you do so for your 2023-2024 recruitment.
Fantastic. So we are going to end now. Now, one thing that I am doing with a lot of education establishments at the moment, because they're having to massively pivot their marketing, is to offer a 1-hour complimentary clinic. We can only do this with 5 of the first brands that sign up, I hasten to add. And what we will do is map out your funnel. We'll have a look at where your gaps are in a 1-hour clinic. We'll do it on Zoom. And we will work out what needs to be fixed, what data you need to get your hands on, so that we can map out your AIDA model from top to bottom of funnel. So by the end of the call, you know what you need to go and do and where you need to concentrate your efforts. So please email melody@emergingcoms.com if you'd like to be considered for that. We'll also put it into the follow-up email for anybody who attended this webinar today. And so you can click on there. Please follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Domenica Dilietto on LinkedIn. I do post an awful lot of content and infographics and blogs around the education market about all sorts of things. Some of it's channel related, some of it's customer and student related, and some of it is just things just to be mindful of. I'm actually just written a blog early this morning about Chinese culture and how you need to be thinking about that in all your comms. So do look out for me and connect with me on LinkedIn. A lot of you have already, I noticed while I was on this webinar. So thank you very much for that. And the 7 questions that were emailed to me, I will email you the answers this afternoon, because I'm conscious that we've now run out of time. But if anybody does have any burning questions now, we have a couple of minutes. If you'd like to just raise your hand, and if nobody raises their hand, then we will finish the webinar here. I will stop recording, however.